502 studio in Ghana, Accra. I'm so excited to be here. I'm here for the ADDI organized Wakanda One Expo in Cape Coast. But now I stopped over here to Accra and I met a very special person, Mr. Azonko Simpi.
Yeah.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to speak with you. I just want to find out from you, who are you?
I am Azonko Simpi, the synchronizer, because I play multiple instruments, cowbell, leg, guitar, and the rest. I would say I'm a gifted musician, and I pursue the passion to study the music, and now fusing the symphony orchestra with the African rhythms, drums, and choir, called Classic Africa Orchestra. Interestingly, this turned into a new thing, into a software that is giving world time, where world time should be moving from the present passive state to the active state with Rolex and the rest. It's a big dream, it's on paper, but the demo is there working. So technically, I would say I'm a visionary, a musician, then a technocrat, setting the whole agenda and to declare that with this software and the music and the timing, everything comes to the Greenwich Meridian, which makes me to declare that Ghana is the mathematical scientific center of the world.
Wow. That's interesting for you to say that.
Yeah.
Can you prove to me, just give me, because this is a concept that I'm hearing for the first time, I guess.
Yeah.
And you are saying that Ghana is the center of the world. And you are the founder of Center of the World Limited.
Investment Limited.
Investment Limited, which is a profit-making business, right? Like it's a limited and it's not for profit. I have two questions for you.
Good.
The first question I'm going to ask you is, prove to me why you say that Ghana is the center of the world. And the second question, maybe you can just enter. The second question is, why did you decide to make it a profit-making and not a not-for-profit?
Okay. Ghana as the center of the world is based on my philosophy that every point is the center of the world, because the earth is spherical. So if you are taking a point, it will come under the 360 degrees that we have in a circle. So if you take any of the 360 degrees as your point, you have 359 degrees negating it. So in the end, if every point is the center of the world, then no point is the center of the world. Okay? Now, if you look at the earth, the way God created it, we have the northern and the southern hemisphere. And you can find this by the reversal of the magnetic field in the northern and the southern hemisphere when you are on the equator. And the equator is latitude 0. This is undisputed. So the equator being the center determines north and south. So if we want to find the center, we have to find the next determinant, which should be east and west. But on 30th October 1884 in Washington, D.C., 25 countries with 41 experts met and declared Greenwich as prime meridian. So when they say prime meridian, it becomes the 0, because out of the 360 degrees that is going on the globe, okay, they selected Greenwich as 0 to decide east and west. Okay? So this becomes the global, I call it a global arbitrary decision on time. So if Greenwich Meridian is also the man-made accepted 0, where this man-made decision crosses the natural one, that becomes 0, longitude 0, latitude 0, latitude 0, longitude 0. Okay? Now, so when you go to 0 point, which I call my absolute coordinates, the nearest habitable land is Cape 3 Point, okay, which I call polar coordinate 1. Okay, is a distance, the nearest habitable land from there. The nearest one on Greenwich Meridian is Tema, which I call polar coordinate 2. And then Sao Tome is called polar coordinate 3, which is also on the equator, on the eastern side. So mathematically, if polar coordinate 1 and 2 are already in Ghana, and then there are no lands around it, okay? Invariably, that means Ghana is the center of the world. That is why I declare Ghana as the land at the center of the world.
Very impressive, actually. How did you decide to research? How did your research go? Like, what was the process of your research about this?
It's an interesting thing because it started from Beethoven. For me, Beethoven is the greatest composer. And I love his piece, Suarez. I've been working on it, and it inspired me to study.
Yeah.
And this piece moved on to, and I declared that Beethoven was playing African music on it. Because when you say, okay, you call the call and response. But from about 86 or so, you can see that the development side, you hear then you get it.
Yeah.
The left hand, to me, it's odd to see 3 fingers on 1 note on the piano. So I realized Beethoven was playing African drums. This happened in St. Mary's, Lolobi. Okay, then I said, no, the man is playing African drums. I took this, got on the piano, and I could hear the drums clearly. And I came out and look, Beethoven was playing African music on the piano.
Okay.
So I took this up now. Then finally, I've orchestrated it fully for the symphony orchestra.
So now the connection between...
I'm coming.
Yeah.
So this music opened the door for a genre of music called Classic Africa Orchestra. So I finished the Beethoven, I brought Ifremamu, I brought Kojo Tibu, where it came out a whole album called Classic Africa Orchestra. Along the line, it led me to put it into the software called Sync Clock, where these pieces play at the strike of the hour. We got the Sync Clock software design in Ghana.
Yeah.
So if we got the Sync Clock working effectively, I say, it should be over because I saw the time problem in Ghana. We don't mark it, we don't measure, so we don't manage it. So I followed up with the Greenwich and traced the Greenwich meridian to Tema. They say it passes through Tema. In the textbooks, the Greenwich meridian is an imaginary line that passes through Tema. But I said, where is it? We found it at Pillar 1. And when we got the place, the Greenwich meridian now, it opens a whole new window because I asked, and so what? And is this, is that, is this, that. Now we have to, with Google Earth, we should make the Greenwich meridian to be empirical. And it goes through UK, France, Spain, Algeria, Mali, Burkina Faso, comes to Ghana, goes through Togo and back into Ghana. And it's a big thing where we want to declare where the East meets West. It's a whole thing for people to know. And it made me to go into time, whereby we can now calculate where you are. The Earth is also always moving. The time you are listening to this interview, to the end of it, the Earth is spinning.
Yeah.
And with GPS and Google Earth, you can now calculate the spin of where we are, which I call Earth times spin spot. Because if you check it, you get your latitude, you get your longitude on your distance, you multiply that, the cosine of your latitude times 1,037 miles at the equator, that gives you your speed. And it opens a lot of things. The whole world, we have to wake up to the new time where we want to move time from the present passive to active state for the individual to feel the earth moving beneath the feet.
Wow, that's deep. I love math, but you are deep. Now, on the case of the 00, the declaration of you saying that Ghana is the center of the world.
Yeah.
What is your plan now?
Our plan?
Yes.
The plan is to take this across the country. And the good thing is that the government is interested, the Ministry of Tourism and the rest, we packaging it to go around the 16 regions 2022.
Yeah.
We want to start from Yendi, come down to Ketekrachi. The document is there, being implemented. So 2022, we want to have an encounter with the schools because it's supposed to be pedagogy. We want to translate this into all the Ghanaian languages, into French, into other. So it's a message for the world to start. We want to get the Ghana version of it well developed. And then we are planning to get the cruise to 00. Ultimately build a 00 city. Okay, for world time, and then we move all the things. It's quite huge. Yeah. But we are starting with this interview. I know we are on course with it, with the team that are coming on board now.
Very well said. You do realize that that center of the world, the 00 point, city. Right? City, or the 00 city. You have all these countries that are surrounded by that. You have Mali, you have Spain.
No, they are on the Greenwich Meridian.
Yeah, but you have UK on there. Like, you have all these countries that are there, that are surrounded by there. What do you say, how they can claim that point as well? And is there a plan for you to actually have sit down with them and buy-in? Maybe you're trying to get the government, and the governments can sit down. What's the plan? Like, is there?
They will follow. These declarations are there. I only know of the Greenwich, Visit Greenwich in London, that they work out with the concept of the Greenwich Meridian. That's what I know so far. I don't know much about what is happening in France. I don't know much about what is happening in Spain. All these countries, now we are moving. So where the East meets West in these countries, we want to set the Ghana agenda very well. Then we can replicate. So we are inviting them for us to sit down and develop it. Then secondly, when we say center of the world, we're taking the countries on the equator. And that is also going around the globe to Latin America, and where the eastern, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere meet. So we've designed something we call Azonko magnetic indicator, where you pour the water in. So when you move into the western, northern hemisphere, the reversal of the water, you see it. When you come into the southern hemisphere, we've designed all those things there. That's why we want to try and build a 00 city for science, for people to feel it. The world is moving, it's spinning, but you don't know it. God made us to be there for us to feel it. The optical illusion that you see the sun rising and setting is an optical illusion. It's the earth that is moving. So we want to bring all these things now out for people to experience it.
Well, the aspect of building that place and involving tourism and all that,
science.
Right? Because in also the science, the profit making of a project and your company that is handling this project as well. So the government, what you're saying is that the government now are going to be talking to
It's a PPP, public-private partnership.
Yes, but it's public partnership, but then these governments, they have to talk to other governments because this is profit making. So how long, because the logistics now, it's getting wider and wider, right? Because you're involving about 16 regions around that place.
That is in Ghana.
Yes, but in Ghana, you're trying to make sure that all these regions, they get a buy-in. So with the profit making, do you think that the government is going to have a buy-in, especially other governments, this coming from Ghana, an African country?
What I will say is that, do we need it? We need it. If we need it, then we have to fund it. If we want to fund it, we have to. With what we've done now, we don't think we want to depend on funds from government. Government has a lot of responsibilities. We want some small play for government to endorse it. But we want the private investors with due diligence, due management. That's the only way it can be sustained. Because when I go to Tema, I see the Meridian Hotel very dilapidated, because it's built for leisure and pleasure. I chat with the hotel. He said, no, he tells you they built me for leisure and pleasure. And even, so these are points I realize, no. But when we talk of saying it's a science thing, it's a time thing, and We can't put it, after we put this in place, the non-profit making organizations that have agenda that fits into it, then we feed them. But the core has to be private, that we do due diligence. If we are getting 1 million Ghanaians to visit this point, the fund that is there should be able, because we want to create jobs. Okay, and I have seen a lot of projects, good ones, they say non-profit, because you are depending on donors and the implications and the rest. No. But we believe that we are going profit. We want to get the school people to commit themselves. And some of the agendas we want to put across: every house a tree, every house a musical instrument. So get the households, and then the children are involved, because we want to make the Greenwich Meridian to be empirical. So we're taking half of a degree east, half of a degree west, and cultivate a lot of things that it has to be that way. So the government comes in, give us the enabling environment, give us a little involvement, and the private person take over, and we do it. That is the only, because we have to replicate. We have to do a lot of responsibilities. We can't depend on other organizations to come in.
Thank you for that. Because this project, your project, is very unique, and it has baffled me a lot, and I really want to know more about it. It's actually in the first stages, like the feasibility study. Now, in your feasibility study, have you included water engineers that can actually go to that place and make sure they understand that you can actually build something around that water? Right? Because you have to make sure, you can't just, you have the vision, it's a very good vision, you have the idea, and you've started putting things together. You've got, you gave me from one of these pamphlets that you've started working on as well, and the budgets that you're working on as well. So I just want to know if you've, even in your company, you have water engineers, or on your projects, you have water engineers that are going to be doing
The good thing about 00 is that, incidentally, Ghana Navy even made a trip there this year. So far as the Navy even dreamt to go to visit the equator there, it starts. If these trips come, and it means the awareness is happening. This is the first time I heard about the Ghana Navy going there, because the commander is a very dynamic guy. Okay? And then the piracy in the Atlantic Ocean. That's one of the reasons we need to get the 00, because we need to build a naval base there for security, okay? And then we want to make sure Guel can have a depot there. A lot of things. It's a city, tourists, cruise ships, and people should visit 00 to recalibrate their time. So a lot of things are going to happen there. But as soon as we set the agenda, the stakeholders come in, and the input from Ghana now, the Ghana government now. I would say 5 years ago, we never had that. What was happening 5 years, 6 years ago, no. I have not seen that. Okay? So, yes, 6, 7 years ago. So Ghana government now, from 2015 coming, it's not that they are getting involved, and very serious. That's the encouragement for us to go. By 2022, we go around this store, then the engineer, the experts, and all the people know that something is happening. We have that enabling environment. And I know investors are coming in.
Okay, so the year 2022, you'll start talking about creating awareness and all that with the government, and that's your plan. You have a team together?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm here for the Wakanda one, right? I told you. Wakanda one is being built in Cape Coast.
Yes.
Right? So what's the connection between the 00 and the Wakanda one?
The interesting thing is that Wakanda one, where they are building in Cape Coast, I'm a product of University of Cape Coast. And I used to jog around that place. That's my jogging area. But from 00, University of Cape Coast is the nearest university of education to the 00. So we're packaging this. I've informed some of the lecturers at the university, working on the document. So Wakanda coming in, I found it mysterious. So after this, I'm preparing. I have pending meeting with Panafest.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened yet, but I want Wakanda to finish. But I want people to know that Wakanda, where they are citing all the city and the rest, the gate of University of Cape Coast is the point to 00, the nearest university of education in the world closest to 00. So Wakanda, to me, technically, is virtually at the center of the world.
So that's divine appointment.
That's it. So
Wow.
but we have to develop it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How long do you think this project is going to take? What do you want people to know?
What
just
I
three
want
things.
people to know
Yeah.
that these things are happening. Those who are interested, they can approach us. We screen them because of our experiences. People have various ideas in it. But we are welcoming anybody who have any input to come, and we feed them into the plan. It's like a spacecraft. There's room for everybody, but we have to screen your in and your out, and then we move on. But bottom line is that people should be ready to recalibrate their time. You don't need to come there to feel the earth moving beneath your feet to mark your time. If you mark it, you can measure. If you can measure, you can manage. Because the declaration of 00 is based on world time. Okay, and time is the entity that God has given us as unit on your phone or money in your account. So you have to use your time wisely. That's why I have this thing to end up. Your time equals to T, which equals to W squared plus and minus F squared over capital W plus and minus capital F. Your wise decision squared plus and minus your foolish decision squared over wisdom and foolishness. That's your whole life. So from now onwards, after listening to this, make sure that you are taking wise decisions or foolish decisions to come to center of the world. Full stop.
Very profound. I don't need to ask you the last question I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you, what legacy do you want to leave? But I know your legacy because it's a huge one and it's making a difference in the world. But I'm going to give you a chance to say that.
Legacy?
And also, yeah.
Well, if you say legacy, I don't even know what I have yet.
Well, it doesn't matter.
When they talk of legacy, I don't know what you have. It's the value of those behind you.
Yeah.
Whether it will be wise or foolish to them is for them. So me, the legacy, I'm based on what I can write.
Yeah.
Okay. So probably this interview is a good legacy.
Yes.
And thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming. I really appreciate your coming here and then just talking to you about this project. It's a big project and it's a very unique project, and I want the world to know that in Africa we have brilliant people like him who has come up with that, very scientific and very forward-looking person, Mr. Azonko Simpi. Thank you so much for coming on Tapestry with Miriam once again.
Thank you.
All right.